It is 8 o'clock on the dot. That's crazy, actually. It's 8 o'clock on the dot, very early. Just got the kids on the bus. And I had to come on here and vent. Hopefully the audio isn't too bad. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. I do got my coffee this morning. Still getting motivated for the day, but there's just some thoughts and things going on in my head that I want to kind of talk out with y'all. And I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say as well, because you know, the thing is when I struggle with things, I'm getting to this place when it comes to the internet, and especially here on this channel, where I'm becoming more and more comfortable with just being completely raw and honest with you guys. And it's took me a long time to get there. Okay, let me be honest. It's took me a long time to get to a place to where I do feel comfortable just laying it all out on the table, being real about it, not faking a smile, not keeping it pushing and acting like it's all good when it's not all good. Granted, I don't want to sound like a negative Nancy all the time or always be coming to my channel with problems or issues. I don't want to be one of those. But when I am struggling with things or when I'm going through it, I want to be honest about that and about the things that I'm going through it about, you know? So for those of you who listen to these videos, click on these videos and listen and hear me out, please know that that means everything to me. You guys are incredible and amazing, and sometimes just those positive messages, you really have no idea how much they do help me get through each day, especially on days where I'm really struggling. Our brains can play some crazy tricks on us and make us believe like we're not worthy, we're not good enough, we don't offer enough, all of these things. And you know, that's something I've struggled with my whole life, like I've said 1,000 times. With that being said, I do want to give just a quick little, I guess you could say, life update real quick, like where we're at, how things are going in my personal life, because I do like to kind of try to keep you guys in the loop with those things. So I shared this on my main channel a few weeks back that my son was diagnosed with OCD recently. And you know, the thing is about OCD is there's just so much about it that I don't feel like is spoken about publicly a great deal. And I'll be honest, up until recently, I was highly uneducated on what OCD was. I kind of chalked it up and stereotyped it to be people who are really clean, who have to have things a certain way, you know, are very like manic about those things. But like I said, I was highly uneducated about it. There is so much more to the diagnosis of OCD than just, oh, the house needs to be clean, things have to be a certain way. There's just so much more to it. And the more I learn, so that I can advocate for my son and support my son and be there for him in the ways that he needs me to be, the more heartbreaking it is. So if there is anyone watching this who struggles themselves or has a loved one with OCD, just know that like my heart genuinely goes out to you. There's so much about that diagnosis that is very complex, and as I learn about it, especially with what my son specifically goes through, it's difficult. You know, there's a lot of self doubt, a lot of shame, a lot of things that people with OCD go through in that way, and they're really, really hard on themselves, which I can understand to an extent. I don't have OCD, but I do overthink things, but the compulsiveness of it, I can keep in check. I have those thoughts, but I can keep it in check and be like, okay, like you're just spiraling. My son, however, he's 10 years old. He's not capable of that. He wants to get these thoughts out of his head. He wants to get these compulsive thoughts out of his head, but he don't know how. And then he feels a lot of shame for even having the thoughts to begin with, which causes him a lot of self-doubt and even more shame. And he's been struggling with that, you know. So thankfully he is in therapy. He's been in therapy for several months now, and I am so grateful for his therapist, because she's the one who actually spotted these behaviors and these things. And we did the assessment and did everything that needed to be done. And I don't know, like if he hadn't have been in therapy, I don't know if I would have caught it early enough to make sure that he was being taken care of and getting the help that he needs. Because a lot of the things he goes through, I've always chalked up to ADHD, because he also has ADHD. Ironically enough, however, my next door neighbor has the same diagnosis of ADHD and OCD. And she was explaining to me how torturous it is to have both at once, because with ADHD, there's a lot of like hyperactivity where you really want to do things and you're always going, but you're also super like disorganized. Your thoughts are disorganized. All of these things. With OCD, it's like sometimes can be the opposite of that, where things have to be a certain way. So your brain is just constantly battling itself. With two diagnoses like that, they're polar opposites to one another, and it is torture. It's torture. And as a mother, knowing that my 10-year-old has been battling internally in that way, it's so hard to know, like, I can't take that pain away from him, or I can't ease those thoughts more. There was a moment where I was kind of hard on myself, and it's so silly because I know it's not like my fault or anything. Things like this just happen. It just is what it is. Like with me, I definitely have depression, and that's something I've struggled with my whole life. I have had anxiety since I was a child. It's not nobody's fault. It just is what it is. But I'm a huge advocate for my kids. That's very important for me, to be able to advocate for my kids and support my kids and be like the best I can be for them, so that they don't have to go through things alone. So this has definitely been a journey, and we're still very early on in this journey, but there's a game plan, and that's what matters. And there's still so much I'm learning about all of this, but what I will say is, we're taking him this week to get a genetic biological mouse swab done, so that they can find a specific list of medications that work for him based off of his genetic and biological makeup, which I think is incredible, so that he don't have to go through the process of trying different medications until we find something that works for him. And that gives me a little bit of peace, knowing like these medications are going to be specifically made for him. And I think it's amazing that medicine and science has came so far to where they can do things like that. And I hope, it gives me hope for me and everyone that is in the doctors and stuff, because that will take a lot of the stress and the hassle of finding the medication that works for you out of the equation, which I know can be really hard. I myself struggle with chronic illness. I have an autoimmune disease. So medications and finding medications that work and having to change my medications from time to time. And that's just a part of life. It really is. So especially when you have, chronic illness and things of that nature, it's just it becomes a part of your life. So things like this being put into place, I think makes people that do have to take medications on a regular, I don't know, it just takes a little bit of that stress away of knowing like, okay, we can do this mouse swab, and here is a list of medications that should work specifically for your genetic makeup. Is incredible. Okay. But yeah, so we've been going through that, and just learning and educating. And in the process of doing all of this, my husband has also really, like, he has struggled with OCD like behaviors his whole life. And there were certain things like I've seen throughout our marriage. We've been married for 13 years. I've always just called them quirks of his. But as my son has been diagnosed with OCD, one thing that they told us is that it could be hereditary. This could definitely be something that he got genetically. My husband, became very curious about, well, I want to take the assessment just to kind of see where I'm at. Because I've talked about this a bit too, but he's always been very conservative. He doesn't really talk about how he feels a lot, which is difficult because I'm, again, the polar opposite of that. I'm going to tell you how I feel. Okay. I'm going to tell you how I feel. There's not going to be no second guessing or wondering like, ooh, is she okay? Because I'm going to tell you. I can't keep it in. Keeping it in really is hard for me. And I used to try to do that when I was younger, and I developed a lot of anger issues because I would bottle shit up and not want to deal with it. So in my adulthood, that's something that's been very important for me, is to not bottle things up, to be vocal about how I feel about things. That way there is no confusion. That way you know exactly how I feel about something. And it's been something that's worked really well for me. I'm not one who can bottle things up. I'm not one who can suffer in silence for long, because I will blow and it's not pretty. But my husband, on the other hand, is the complete opposite of that. He's very conservative. He always has been, in every aspect of the word. He's very, very strong-willed, very much not one that shows emotion a great deal. And that's been a struggle within our relationship because we are so different. And he's gotten better about it throughout the years, but it's just so hard for him to work through these things. And I think it's a lot easier for him to ignore that he is even feeling anything and just, go. That's his way of coping, working and doing things, keeping himself busy. But it's not healthy. It's not healthy on him. It's not healthy in general. And he's been through a lot. Outside of my dad, the man who raised me, he is literally the strongest man I've ever met in my life. Once my son got this diagnosis, he was like, you know what, I want to take the assessment just to kind of see where I fall, because I deal with these things. He has those compulsive thoughts, and it's something I've been aware of, but I just didn't know the severity of it. So my husband went, he got the assessment done, and he scored very high on this assessment test. There were some surprises out of it. And I know that may sound crazy because, hello, you would think I would know everything. We've been married for 13 years, right? But no. Seeing some of the results from that assessment definitely opened up some conversations between he and I, and things that I didn't know he struggled with to the extent that he did, and all of this stuff. So he is now in the process of getting into a doctor as well, and getting, things on the roll for himself. I think his son being diagnosed and knowing that his son struggled with these same issues as he does was a motivator for him to go and get the help that he needs, so that he could be a good example to his son, if that makes sense. Because he's very much the kind of person who will put himself on the back burner and put himself last and put his family first all the time. And I am that way too. I am. Like we that's just what you do as parents. And sometimes you can lose yourself unintentionally, and not not care about yourself and not put the work into yourself. You know what I'm saying? And I think that he and I are both very guilty of that. So I'm happy to see that he's going and he's seeking help and actually going to move forward with making sure he's okay. It's been a process, and we literally just started this process. So yeah, if you guys have any positive juju you can send my way, or anything, just know your girl appreciates it, because I feel like life has just been like, oh, you need another whammy? Boom, double whammy, boom, 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 in waves. It feels like it's been something lately, and y'all, I like to think I'm a strong person, but man, it's like you can only be strong for so long, So all of these things are things that I know that can be sorted out and worked through, and it's not the end of the world, and and all of these things. But I think it's really easy to get in your head and to feel bad about yourself and about your situation. And I try to keep that in check, and I just try to remind myself, like, there's people out there that's struggling with things that are out of their control, that there are no answers for them. You know what I mean? So I don't want to sound like, oh, you know, I don't know. Anyways, moving on. I want to say thank you to all of you who watched Sarah Jean's journey. We did an interview a couple of weeks back that was incredible. Her story is so empowering, so inspirational. The things that she's overcame, the things that she has, you know, went through in her life. Her story is just so beautiful. And I feel very honored that she was willing to share that with me. I love hearing people's stories. That's been something I've always loved, but I've not ever really put a lot of thought into it. And then, you know, that is how me and Sarah connected to begin with, was off the relatability of addiction and our journeys with addiction. We've had many conversations about it, and I could tell, like I said in that video, that she really wanted to share her story. She just didn't really know where to start. It's not easy. It's to know where to start with something like that. I remember the first time I talked about my stuff, and I was so nervous. And I've mentioned this before, but if it wasn't for Selfie Queen Cindy, because she had been so open with the things that she had struggled with, along with so many other people. But I remember reaching out to her and just being like, I want to share, but I don't know how much is too much, you know, because it is a lot and it's very personal. There was a big part of me that was scared to share anything for fear of rejection and judgment and all these things. So having someone like Cindy, who has shared her story online and who has been very open about things, like, it was just very helpful to me. It really was. So I'll forever be grateful for that. But going back to Sarah's story and her video, yeah, I just want to say thank y'all so much. There were so many people that reached out, people that I'd never even heard of before, like, or ever seen before, reaching out saying how much Sarah's story had touched them and had really given them their own sense of empowerment, and them wanting to share their stories. And I started really thinking about it. Like, after I started receiving these messages and stuff, I was like, you know what? Like, this is something I would really enjoy doing, is giving people a place where they feel comfortable to share their stories, and nothing else matter. You know, like, nothing else matter. It can be anything that you have endured in your life, that has left an impact in your life, that you've learned a lot from, that you think could potentially help others in any way. I think that's something I'm going to do over here. And I hope you guys enjoy them, and I hope they help you. Just hearing all these different walks of lives. Anyways, to hear them, and some of them are about things that are completely out of the realm of recovery. But I don't know, it's kind of became somewhat of a passion project for me, and something that I'm very interested in and excited to do, and honored to do. I want to say that as well. So I hope you guys enjoy them. And, you know, this channel over here, this is just a channel where everything I do over here is just very real and raw, and I want to keep it that way, you know what I mean? And I'm very excited about it. So hopefully you guys enjoy, and I hope that these videos can reach someone's eyes and ears that really need to hear them, because at the end of the day, like, that's all that matters to me. Even if it just is inspirational to someone, or gives someone that sense of empowerment, or lets someone know they're not alone, like, that's incredible. And in my opinion, as a creator, I think that's like the best you could hope for, is that something you say really resonate with someone else out here, you know? So I'm really excited about that. And we do have a couple more people that's going to be coming on to share their story very, very soon. So if you enjoyed Sarah's, definitely stay tuned, because I think you guys are going to enjoy these next few that are coming up. All of you are so incredible and so supportive and just so amazing. And Not meaning to love bomb, but that's so for real. And I can't even put into words how much sometimes when things are hard in life, I can look at the comment section of my videos and it really does pick me up and it gives me strength to keep going sometimes. You guys say the sweet, like the most amazing things to me sometimes. And on those days where I'm not feeling my best or feeling like I'm doing my best, it's very helpful. So thank you again. Thank you. Anyways, I'm gonna try to get this out today, you guys. This is gonna be a busy week. I got doctor's appointments for my son, finishing up this video, the Jessica Kent video. I want to get this one out today for you guys. I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts and opinions on everything in the comments down below. Again, I appreciate you guys so much for listening to my word salad, listening to me like just ramble about shit. You know, it means the world. I appreciate every single one of you from the bottom of my heart. I hope you're all having a great start to your week. And if you're not, that's okay too. We got this, y'all. We're gonna get through. I got faith in you. We're strong. We got this. Until the next one. Bye.